Coming to you from that weird space between that funky dream you were having and waking up to the real world. It's the QueerCentric with your host, Queerly Jonny.
Hey, everyone. Did you miss me? I know you did. It is the QueerCentric, and we are back doing a ton of things, as you all have noticed, online. We'll have to give you an update next time we do the show because I would have already hosted Sandpoint Pride, and we're very excited to keep Pride going. It's not just for June anymore. It's for every day. And it should be, especially with what's going on out there. I want to give 2 shout-outs before we get to the show itself. Listen, this person definitely deserves a shout out. I've been working with the amazing Lacey Daniel at Amy Jones Travel. Lacey is great, and she specializes in queer travel, helping you plan a trip where you can focus on celebrating you, knowing that all the queer work and guest work has been taken out of finding safe spaces and queer-friendly options. And if you're wanting to leave the country, she'll find you queer-friendly countries to do that as well. She was nice enough to put my dream itinerary together, going to Malta. Lacey she's put, oh my God, there go my eyes. She's put dates and travel excursions together and air travel and broke out a budget just for me. And she thinks of everything. So if you have a dream of travel, you should contact Lacey and tell her the QueerCentric sent you. You can email her at lacy@amyjonestravel.com because with Lacey, life is an adventure. Travel with pride. Also, can I just say that I did get the itinerary today as if I could afford it. It is brilliant. And now I'm texting my friends. I'm like, now I hate it because I want this so bad in my life. So, and Malta is hosting a World Pride in September of this year. What? And I'm like, what about next year on my birthday? Can they do it? Can you make that happen? Also, we want to thank our friends over at the Best of Broadway from West Coast Entertainment. There is nothing like going to a Broadway show in your own backyard. Mm-hmm. Support the nightlife of Spokane and take in some theater. With upcoming shows like Tina, the Tina Turner musical, Les Mis, because I don't want to say Les Mis, Dr. Seuss, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and there's a lot more coming. They have that's just this year. There's a whole new schedule starting in January as well. So come get your culture on and say hi if you see us. So with the business out of the way, I just want to say that our guest today is a healer, a teacher, a creator, an actor, a conduit of light in our world, and so much more. Every single time I talk to people that know you, we have an amazing time. Basically, we're just saying how much we love you. I just had coffee with a friend the other day, and we spent a lot of time talking about this lovely woman. So we want to welcome Mama Ocean back to the show. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in. So one of the things, you've been on the show before, and we've known each other for a long time, is that I said I just wanted you on the show. I just want to talk about you and the things you do and I guess the path you have found yourself on, because even though there might be a lot in your life, you are such a healing energy to so many people who just meet you. Yeah. And I find that to be amazing. So this is like trip down remember that old show? I mean, we weren't alive then, but that show, This Is Your Life.
Yes.
Yeah, right? It's not as fun. That was a fun show for black and white.
Yeah.
But this is kind of what I want to start. First, when we were talking about metaphysical, and that we don't talk a lot about that. In our society, there's all these, if it's not, everybody who's Christian thinks it's anti-God or whatever. I'm not interested in that. But can you tell us, how would you define metaphysical?
That which cannot be seen.
Oh, I like that.
For one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, to speak to what you were just expounding on.
Right.
Many people have a problem with things that are not, there isn't verifiable data to back that up.
And isn't that interesting? Because there is this whole argument in our culture between science and Christianity and faith, right?
Yes.
And yet that's exactly what we're saying. I think a lot of things are semantics. My mother freaked out the first time she saw I have a meditation area in my home. Oh. And I'm like, Mom, you call this prayer.
Right.
I call this meditation. It's semantics. There's no reason to get, now there are maybe nuanced differences, but you don't have to get so angry. And why are we angry at other people choosing, different ways of life? I wanted to say that I looked up the definition earlier, and there's many.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a broad.
It's meta. It's everything. And it's that sometimes that which cannot be explained, and it's very individualized, and it's experiential.
Exactly.
Because it's different for each people. Every person's perspective is going to be, and actually should be, different.
Yeah. Well, and so I don't believe in anything that offers me an absolute, which is why I have a problem with religion, because life doesn't live there.
Right.
Life is so, like you were just saying, it's so different for every single one of us.
And it contracts and it expands.
Yes.
It changes.
Exactly.
You're incredibly generous the way you introduced me.
Truth.
I do. I relate to many of those things, and on my best days, and I still have, I've been in therapy most of my adult life.
Right.
I'm a huge advocate of therapy for
Hallelujah.
everyone.
Hallelujah.
For
Tomorrow's
everyone.
I'm going
And
back to therapy.
just all of the different healing modalities that I've done. I just continue to, keep peeling the layers of who Erin Elizabeth, who Mama Ocean is.
Right.
And so it feels like, for those who do know me as Erin
Yeah.
Meenock in the community.
Exactly.
I do answer to that still. It's my legal name.
Yeah.
But I really feel like Erin was the caterpillar. And after all of the metamorphosis and all the things I've learned and overcome and healed, stepping into Mama Ocean feels like I've earned my wings. That's the
I
butterfly.
definitely feel like, and it fits you so much.
Thank
and
you.
Everybody I know that knows you, that's how we
And it was
refer
bestowed
to
upon
you.
me. I did not come up with it. It was
Who bestowed?
well, okay. Thank you for the opportunity to tell this.
Of
It's
course.
a big question. Immediately, people go, "How'd you get that nickname?" Mama, I've been called since I was a teenager, because I was kind of the mother hen to all my friends at a young age, even. And there would be partying going on and what have you, teenage activity, and I was always trying to look out for everyone. So Mama just became a moniker that stuck. And Ocean came from actually my daughter. She spoke very, very young. She was probably a year and a half to a year and 3/4. We had all the baby Einsteins. Do you remember those?
Oh, yes.
She called it baby Eingein because she couldn't say it so good, but she wanted to speak.
Yeah.
Little Gemini communicator. And our favorite one was baby Neptune discovering water. And so they would show the word ocean with the ocean in back of it. And this man's voice would come on and go, "Ocean."
Yeah.
And she would flip out and run back and forth, pointing at the screen and me going, "You, Mommy, ocean. You, Mommy, ocean. You, Mommy, ocean." And I
That's
was
so
like,
sweet.
I mean, it tingles everywhere. And I was like, Viola, that's is that my spiritual name? And shared that with some friends, like a girls' night out. I was like, this is going to sound crazy. And they're like, coming from you, probably not. What is it? And I said that. I told them the story. And they said, "Of course you're Ocean. You've always been Ocean. Your Mama Ocean." And of course we had a good laugh because it was like literally when my friend Melanie said Mama Ocean that night, we were like, wow. I mean, it was like, wow, that was really powerful. But the next day, everyone at work was calling me that, leaving notes, and it literally just stuck like something I couldn't get off my shoe. And nor why would I want to?
Exactly. And I still remember the first time I met you. We were doing some work for a magazine that you worked for.
Yes.
Didn't know you, but I remember when you came up to us, there was something about you. First of all, fearless, I loved. And there was something about your energy then. Like right away we connected.
Yeah.
Right away we talked about all the wild things that we hope to do in this world.
And we did many of them.
Yes. Yeah, and we will do many more. We will do many more. Here's the thing that I am fascinated with. Because it's a spirituality, I feel. This is a quote from Jonny. You're welcome. Religion is meant to control. Spirituality is meant to free. It is an expression of our soul.
Yes.
Which is
beautiful.
And that's what I think about when someone mentions metaphysical, or maybe they don't mention that broad term and they mention things that would fit in the metaphysical world.
It is broad.
It is very. Why do you think it is such a threat to a number of people in our American culture?
Because they can't put it under their thumb. It's hard to label. And people are very hung up on labels now. And what category do you fall in? And, I get that a lot. What's your religion? Well, it's not a long time ago when I came to peace with my personal beliefs. I called it my spirituality. It felt much better. It resonated much more. And I have extrapolated from different faiths to create sort of my own philosophy for life, which is, how I live my life. And
I
I'm
love
still
that.
learning, and it's still expanding and growing, and it's
See, and I think that's
marvelous.
amazing because I talk about, it was actually the year I turned 30 was the year I lost my religion because, of course, I was brought up in the Baptist church, my dad being a minister, and I remember feeling the freedom of going, oh, I don't know. I don't know all the answers.
Right.
I can't be part of this that tells me there's one answer. And that's what spirituality was to me. Now, I'm used to, I'm not worried. We get flack on certain shows, and I'm fine with that because, if you walk a path that's alternative from what is considered the norm in our culture, people look at you weird. And you know how I know I'm on the right track?
When they're
People
looking at you
me weird. Exactly.
Well, they've been looking at me like I'm weird for a long time. And now I feel like I'm embodying really the weirdness, if you will. To me, weird is how we express yourself, be authentic and fabulous. And now it's becoming more de rigueur. Spirituality is, and certainly, I've been into crystals a really, really long time, and gemstones, and my spirituality and certain things that are a bit trending now. To me, spirituality and bothers me sometimes when it's a trending thing, like it's a passing fancy. For me, it is a way of life. It's not because it's en vogue, and it's something like I say that it's a long path to walk. That's going to take me.
We're someone who makes it their life that you've been there before, and then during the trend and after. That's way different than I have to say. So being in LA, there's a lot of jokes made about people from LA, but I'm here to tell you, stereotypes are based on some truth.
Yeah.
And so that if you want to feel the trendy where they don't understand, go to an LA party.
Yeah.
You will be cornered, and then they will talk your ear off about stuff that I guarantee 3 months later they're onto something else.
Oh, right.
And I'm interested in the truth. Part of losing my religion was studying other religions, was finding, because I think that is life.
Yes.
Finding these beautiful things that work for us on individual levels. Basically, I always tell everybody my religion is don't be a dick. The rest is what we create.
That's right.
And as long as it's out of love and you're finding these things, and guess what? We don't know everything.
Right.
You watch some science channels and they'll be like, well, there's this weird quantum world. So we have that. And I have to say, in a town like Spokane that is not as conservative as we are told that it is, has its moments. You still shine brighter than any of the others in finding your way and sharing your love. What brought you there?
Finally being myself.
Yeah.
And feeling free to do that.
What made you
Because
come
I
to that?
did not, for a lot of my life, I'm a recovering people pleaser, and had a very domineering mother, and that was hard to overcome because my core beliefs were that I was not okay. I wasn't pretty. I was fat. Nobody wanted to hear what I had to say. I was too much. That was the other thing. You're too much. And then that followed me into friendships with some female friends that were no longer in each other's lives.
Yeah.
I wish them well. However, that's been a big part of my healing too, is because it's like, wait, we have this beautiful friendship. And then when you look back, you see that, was it out of convenience? What were they getting out of it?
Yeah.
Especially when you are a people pleaser, but you're constantly being told, the things that aren't the truth of yourself. So now I feel like, especially these last, really since the pandemic too, many people fell away, and so many beautiful souls have come into my life, and relationships with people that I established years ago are much more steeped now. They're richer, they're deeper, because I feel like people are really going within and doing big work that I feel we all came here to do, because if we're going to change the planet, it starts with each of us.
Thank you. And as we look around the planet, we need to change it. So more people need to awaken to this idea, like, call it what you will, this idea of being better than we were yesterday.
That's right.
We need to embrace that. And one of the things you were mentioning, recognizing some people just fell away. It's also this understanding to recognize the people that are around us that maybe we didn't stop and go, oh, because I made this mistake. I was sitting on the side of the road. My clutch had gone out on my car. It was 7 a.m. I was supposed to go to my niece's memorial. And I sat there and I remember thinking, I don't know many people. I don't have many friends. First of all, don't worry, everybody. I learned in the matter of minutes that what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
I have people who love me. Kurt's on speed dial for most of my crises. But there were so many people who messaged me, people I hadn't talked to in years, calling my phone, what do you need from me? We
wow.
don't understand the love, because I love how much I talk to the community, and I'll hear, oh, well, see, I'm not the only member of the fan club that loves Mama Ocean. There is this, and I think there comes that moment where you're like, okay, I need to start understanding there are people out there and that I am loved, and that maybe I don't need these people who are taking more than they're giving. But that's a big lesson
It's
to
a
be
hard
able
lesson.
to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you're, again, and it isn't even just the people pleaser part so much. I've been this way since I can remember.
Yeah.
My mom told me, and I still do it now. I make friends virtually everywhere. I mean, I will.
yes.
I'll come away with it. I'll be friends with, I'll have a Facebook message request from someone before I leave a gas station.
Exactly.
You know? I just make friends. And when I was little, I did it too. Mom said, oh my God, you made friends with everyone. Everyone wanted to take you home. You just fall in love with people. So I know my big work that I came here to do was to love on people. And just by virtue of being myself, if that is shining a light and helping others or brings joy to them, when you were just saying about each day to know, hopefully each day we're better than before. My purpose is to leave the planet better than I found it, and to hopefully leave a lasting legacy that will ripple on for a long time, ripple on, wings of love, and just spread that way rather than, the negative stuff that
I think
goes out
that's
there.
amazing. And so we need you to be here in our realm for many, many years to come. I feel like there's so much inside of you to give, and all of us need to connect with that energy, connect with the love around us, and call it woo-woo, call me a hippie, I'll take it all. But we need more of those people. So when you recognize those people around you, appreciate them, send them love, because I would guess it's not always easy, and it takes a lot of energy going out, right?
Yeah.
So how do you protect that energy?
Well, my unicorn horn for one.
Oh, nice.
By being mindful.
Yeah.
I'm learning and have learned and putting into practice setting intention every day. We all have been, I don't want to say guilty of, because I don't want guilt in there.
Right.
However, can probably relate to being on the hamster wheel of life, and just you get on this, or you get out of the habit of doing certain things that are good for you, when we can habituate the good for yous, the taking the vitamins, the doing the meditation or prayer and meditation in my case.
Right.
I'm attuned and ignited with Holy Fire Reiki now. Right. So I also, and I forget to use it on myself. Like I have the bum knee and the neck and the back right now. I should be doing Reiki twice a day, probably when I wake up and in the evening. But it's habituating the good stuff.
Yes.
Because the other stuff is it's a little too easy in our culture. And I think that's by design.
I was going to say it's ingrained in us for a purpose.
To toxify people, and they're easier to control that way.
There it is. Yeah. How can we control people? I need you to buy into a narrative. That means that I just had this realization with myself, which I have now and then, but it's that realization that, you know what? Life doesn't, we all have a specific amount of time.
That's right.
And we don't know what it is. And I've seen way too many people in the past year pass away from young to older. Yeah. And you realize, we all have health problems as I get older. And I'm like, what am I accepting in my life? I am accepting a narrative over here and not doing, guess what? At the end of it all, I want to have done everything I dreamed of. Yeah. So am I going to be too afraid to go after my dreams? Am I going to be too afraid to do 18 projects? Listen, as long as I'm still alive, I've got stuff to do. But that is the realization that we have bought into a cultural understanding, a cultural contract.
Sure. Of this is how it is, and this is the way we've always done things.
Yes.
And this is how we do things.
Yes. And that is where the ones way Dangerous. Up here they control us. Right. And we forget there's more freedom in us than we allow, which is one of the things I've always connected to you. I also know, talk to me about sound baths and light, that whole aspect.
There's so many wonderful healing modalities out there. that I've just been so hungry for years.
Yeah.
And yes, I started on my spiritual path probably in my 20s. But about 8 years ago, I connected with some folks that were doing sound healing out of Coeur d'Alene.
Nice.
Still very dear friends with Alicia Blackwolf. She isn't doing the sound baths quite as much, especially during summer. However, that was my first induction into sound therapy.
Yeah.
And to my knowledge, she was the first individual doing it in this area. And I'm considered a frequent flyer. I've been to well over 200 sound baths and have had private ones for my birthday and this sort of thing. That is proven now on a cellular level. They're like frequency heals.
Frequency is huge.
It can heal and it can hurt. So be careful what frequencies you're putting in.
We can hit it on an atomic level. I mean,
Yes,
it
can be so like Masaru Emoto, who, R.I.P., passed away several years ago. Messages in Water, I think was the name of his book, where he did the study of putting water into, having affirmations that are either positive or negative, certain sounds of music, and the patterns that would be created in the water were either really lovely and beautiful, if it was positive, or if it was a negative, lower frequency vibration. Oh, you could see it. I mean, it is
an amazing study.
It is amazing.
And if people want to watch, there's a documentary called Down the Rabbit Hole.
And it's fabulous.
They spotlight it in that.
Yes.
But it also, people who are like study quantum mechanics and are trying to figure out how that works, that's one of the things they look to, because
frequency.
By people every day, like vibing love or whatever, at water, the molecules changed.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. And that's where, so that documentary is was part of that year of me losing my religion, was understanding that we have, if we focus on love, we have a lot of effect on the world around us. I mean, it's the same thing, whether you buy into The Secret and manifestation, it's the same type of idea.
It's what frequency are you emitting?
Yes. And if you'll notice, anybody who gets up on a Monday morning and they're cranky, if you stay in that mood the whole day, whether it's true or not, your whole day is crap, and because that's all you can see.
And you can change it. It does not mean that, I had a difficult day today. I had people, at work were, go home, please go. They could see that I was in pain, and I still was bringing it though, and I still waited on customers and had a fabulous day, and I persevered. And I made a choice because I was like, I'm still going to try and show up as my best self right now.
And then you had this prick host.
Oh, I do know how much I was looking forward though to doing this and seeing you.
I love
just getting to see you, but to be on here is a huge honor. I wanted to go back to also, you mentioned about light therapy.
Yes.
So I do have the privilege of working at a business. It's still newish to Spokane. We've been open about a year and a half, called Luminosity.
Yes.
And we feature the Lucia #3 hypnagogic light experience.
I don't even know what that means.
We've talked a little bit, and I'm like, you need to come and have a
not
session.
Enough.
You should absolutely come and have a session. And really, it is light and sound therapy.
Yeah.
Because so the clients come in, I meet with them, find out how they're doing. As I like to say, what the weather is like with them, and find out what would be a great program for them, because there's close to 100 programs in the computer that comes with this $25,000 light. It's an incredible piece of technology, and it's just a white light that is, you lay under it, and it emits light that hits and communicates into your pineal gland and your optic nerve through your eyelids, which flood your brain with light and literally light up your whole nervous system. People have had nervous system recalibrations. I mean, at the base level, it's incredibly blissful experience.
Right.
We have noise canceling headphones, and I select what are called solfeggio tones that I work with on a daily and nightly basis. I listen to solfeggio tones virtually every night. And if you don't know what that is, just for folks, it's spelled SOLFEGGIO, solfeggio. Go on YouTube. I subscribe to YouTube. That's the only thing. My daughter took over Netflix. There literally are thousands. And for specific things. So if
I
for
was
pain
going to say,
management,
so what kind of thing? Okay,
yeah,
pain
so
management.
pain management, 174 hertz. And these are also verifiable. Like
Right.
they've studied and said, oh, this number of hertz correlates with this type of healing. 528 is for heart chakra healing.
Yeah.
639, love and relationships. I mean, 888 is for abundance and calling in abundance. So you can.
Okay, someone write that down. 888.
888. And the
So-
Lionsgate's coming next month. 88 is the Lionsgate.
Oh, really? And so what does that do? Is it more powerful?
Well, we're in this window right now of quantum manifestation, I'll just call it. 7/7 was last Friday.
Yeah.
Really, it was 7/7/7 because if you add 2023,
Yeah.
2 and 2, 4, and 3 is 7. So it was a 7/7/7 day. I actually attended an event, which you might not have heard of. It was a initial event, but hopefully they'll continue to do it, called Starfest. It was a Japanese culture-inspired event
that would be
put on by some of the same folks that did Pagan Fest at
Yeah.
Unitarian Universalist. I
love-
only had a half an hour left because I visited a friend
Yeah.
for her birthday after work. It was a full day, and I was like, I have to go to this thing because I just love it. Well, they had a raffle, and I bought $20 in raffle tickets, and I picked the things I wanted, and I'm like, I'm winning 3 of those. And I said to my friend, because I didn't want to be greedy, I'm winning 2 of the raffle items. And she was
right.
like, oh, okay. I won 3 out of the 6 raffle
Nice.
prizes.
Oh my God.
Right at the tail end. And I'm like, this is, it's really a thing when you just believe it, like like it's in your
Yeah.
hand.
Yeah.
It just happens. I'm one of the most winningest people I've ever met.
I think
and
that's
it's because I
amazing.
believe it and I just claim it. I'll be like, there's the winning
See,
ticket. And
that's
people
brilliant.
will go, what?
It takes all of my energy just to get on the not bad luck train.
Yeah, and
But,
don't say it. When
no.
people say that, I never WIN anything. I'm like,
I always
don't
say-
say that. You're speaking into existence what you want.
Yeah, I say, don't give it life. What are you doing
Don't
giving
give
it
it life. That's a good way to
No.
put it. So between 7/7 and 8/8 right now, this is well, and literally, I was singing the song. I've got a golden ticket right before I left work yesterday.
Yeah.
Left work, got pulled over, got a ticket.
Oh,
So be careful what you are manifesting.
Be very
You know what I'm saying?
specific
Be-
about your language.
and keep it.
Yeah.
It could just because the universe doesn't know good or bad. It just responds to
So
the frequency.
I think of that a lot because if you grow up like I did in a Southern Baptist household, we talk a lot about be very specific in your prayers.
Right.
And it's exactly that. Like you have to really know what you're wanting. And actually, I just want to give a shout out to, I just listened to an interview with the minister of the UU, Todd Eckloff.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I love that we have this very open place in our community that does things like this.
They're doing amazing stuff over there.
And he's so smart. Like, I've known this man for years and years.
Really?
But from way back when I was here before I went to LA. And then it was a surprise. I see that this podcast, Good Gab, has done an interview with him. So I'm at work.
Wow.
And I listened to this 40-minute, and I'm like, I just love listening to people who want to be better and who want us to grow. And you don't have to ascribe to a religion
Right.
but they allow space for these things to happen. People don't understand, like, we allow ourselves to be one note. But someone like you is like a kaleidoscope of notes. You know what I mean? You can't,
you can't play a song with one note.
No, and it's why I think people are so drawn to you because it's like, oh crap, it's like discovering another dimension all of a sudden. It doesn't have to be this, and there you are doing this work. Like you were mentioning the hertz, gigahertz, and all that kind of stuff, and you're not kidding. For everybody who's watching, you can find these on YouTube.
Oh, they're amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and some of the visuals even. So when I have clients to my home, because I do Reiki, as I was saying,
Yeah.
I'm a Karuna Reiki Master now.
Oh my
I got my
gosh.
Karuna title, Karuna Master this year. So very exciting. So I do see clients for that as well.
Yeah.
And I just continue. I'm calling myself a new word I learned this year, polymath, which is someone who's like a student of life. You're constantly studying and learning new things.
I think that's brilliant. I just had a conversation this week saying it is only when we're dead that we stop learning.
Right.
And if you choose to stop learning, that's a living death.
Yeah.
If you decide I'm going to close off my mind, I'm not going to want to learn more, which is what I love about the metaphysical world, of just being
It's
open
vast.
to something that is more magical than we allow.
Yeah.
The world doesn't have enough magic
No.
as it is. So you get up So I like talk like a million miles a minute.
I
You
can keep
get
up
up.
though.
Yeah.
That's why we get along so good. I'm
It
like,
is exactly
yes,
right.
and
And here we are.
I start finishing your stuff for you.
Exactly. Well, you get up, you're having a bad morning. Like, you know how sometimes I always tell people, sometimes I don't know my mood until
Something happens.
And yes, exactly. I think I'm okay. And all of a sudden, oh no, I woke up in a bad mood. But I don't know for an hour. You know, I haven't started. What happens? You get up. It's not starting off feeling great. How do you calibrate yourself?
Having best practices in place.
Okay, tell
Whether
me more.
that's meditation, whether it's prayer, whether it's affirmations, whether it's a lot of times I will listen to a podcast for one of my teachers / mentors that I follow and get, astrological reports, different things that are happening on the earth. I follow, and then I'll follow it up with some solfeggio tones. So I kind of bake it in, but I try and have these. No, I don't try. I do have these things in place so that each day I have some modalities. Like I said, though, I can sometimes forget. Oh, yeah, I should be doing Reiki on myself.
Life gets in the way.
It's because we're moving at a clip.
Yeah.
And to go back to what you were speaking of about dimensions.
Yes.
Now, so some people have heard that we're entering the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
Some also would say we're in the fifth dimension. The dimensions are separating. The third dimension is very dense. It's the dimension we've been living in for however many centuries long. And there's lots of darkness in there and lower frequencies, bad feelings, anger. It's no wonder that war and famine and
a lot.
racism and bigotry,
Well,
all of
how do
these
we
very low
transcend
frequency.
that?
Fifth dimension. Well, it's about changing our beliefs, letting go,
It's about being
forgiveness,
open, like you said.
grace. Yeah, becoming more gentle.
Forgiveness and grace.
I
big
try
ones.
and, when I'm angry with someone or triggered, maybe not, I haven't even gotten to anger, view people as a child. A child or a baby doesn't know better until they really get it and learn. So if we can give others that, because when we can give it to others, we can give it to ourselves also. What I really love is that, like, it used to be called, the book section used to be called self-help. Well, now it's really more spirituality and kind of going within, like the work that Dr. Joe Dispenza is doing.
Yeah.
Love him. And just the last few years, some of my friends are like, have you heard of? I'm like, yes, I've been reading his stuff for a while. Joe Dispenza. Yeah, it's very, and just the power of thought.
Yeah.
Because it is true, not just what we speak, but also where we keep our thoughts and not to attach to them. Yeah. Because so many people do, they think they are their thoughts. They're not. They're not a thing. Don't make them a thing.
Why are you allowing yourself to be prisoner to something?
Right.
You talk about, I have the hardest struggle because I always say it's because I have a hard time with discipline. Maybe I'm ADHD or whatever. But you're talking about, I call it calibrating.
Yes.
That
a good word
moment.
for it.
But I will say it's the same thing for me. If I know, I also know I don't want to spend the rest of my day feeling this way.
You can literally say out loud.
Yeah.
Oh, and I call it also a pivot, where I'll literally, I might take a moment if something is, and I'll go, the day doesn't have to go like this, or something to snap myself out of it. But like I work with oils and sprays, so those help. I do work with gemstones. When people go, do you believe a gemstone can make or break? I think that anything that brings you joy and uplifts your vibration is helpful. It's not hurting anything.
Right?
Just like I don't live and die by astrology. However, it has helped me to understand those that I care about and those that I want to get to know better.
Think of them as tools to be a more open.
Exactly.
And, right away, if my day is not going well or I'm not in a good mood and that foulness comes in, I know I need to first of all stop. I need to breathe, and then I need to meditate. And sometimes if I'm at work, I need to say, you know what, I'm going to need to take a brief walk and I'll be back.
Good.
And because only you know. But I think, okay, so for all the people that get freaky and they're worried about stuff, you nailed the common denominator of telling people that you can just, these tools are not married to a religion or anything.
No.
It's finding things that up your own vibration, things that bring you, so it doesn't matter.
And a lot of people do it naturally already.
You don't have to call it crystals. You can call it whatever you want.
Like the amount of hiking. Everyone's a hiker now, right? Which is great.
And we are in the Pacific Northwest.
Well, because we live in one of the most beautiful places on earth.
It is gorgeous.
Connecting with nature is one of the best ways. And it doesn't have to be at a far off forest, or you have to be on a trip, or it
Sometimes
has
it's
to be
gardening.
the Olympic National Forest or something. Take your shoes off.
Yeah.
Take your freaking shoes off and go and walk on the earth. I was just seeing something recently. A gentleman was talking about what is a huge cause of illness and also disassociation and so many toxic things in our life are shoes. When man started wearing shoes, our connection from the earth, like it can take, electricity, our bodies are running with it. And so we can get overtaxed with it. Just the simple grounding or it's also called earthing, right? Yeah. Putting your bare feet on the earth. And literally, if you're having a bad day or there's sorrow, grief, anything that is too heavy to carry.
Yeah.
You just can think to yourself, and the earth is going to take it, and she will. She'll take it and transmute it. And
it grounds it literally grounds you. I worked with an acupuncturist for a very long time. His name was Jason Underwood. So if you're in Wenatchee, Jason, hi, how you doing? And I remember when I started at this place, I was like, why is that dude barefoot? Now, between appointments, he would go out, take his shoes off, barefoot, and be in the grass, do a little Tai Chi, whatever. And I remember I was in my 20s, so everything was like,
what is that?
That's so weird.
Yeah.
But as I worked there, I could understand. And for him, it would bring him back to himself. And I think a lot of times we don't know what self is. Mm-hmm. And so things that would bring us back to here is what we need to do. We need to reconnect. First of all, inside, I believe, is just love.
Yes.
And we spend a life trying to block it because it's very vulnerable. And so we don't share it as easily. And I think the work of our lives, at least for me, is to find ways to reconnect to it. Reconnect
Excavate
to the love.
That, right?
Yes, and allow it to shine.
Yeah.
And I think if more people... I 100% believe it. If more people would allow themselves first to get away from ego and connect to love and be willing to share that outside of us, the world would be in a lot better position.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I believe, if I may,
please.
I know there's the thought process of kill the ego.
Right.
Well,
it doesn't.
It has a purpose, actually.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be driving the bus, though. You can politely tell it to get in its seat behind you, and you go back to driving the bus. And then when you need its help, you can say, hey.
And it's a beautiful tool in our toolbox.
It's like another tool. Exactly.
But you're right.
I used to think it was a dirty word when I was little because I was a David Bowie fan from the time I was quite young. And I remember hearing the song, Ziggy Stardust, and he says, making love to his ego. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
What is, I didn't quite understand making love as a little girl either.
Right.
I just thought, what is that? Like, I thought it was some kind of animal. Maybe I wasn't far off base because I thought, ew, I don't know what an ego is, but I don't want one.
Right, exactly.
Anyway, funny anecdotal story,
that's the
but
truth.
that was my first foray into even hearing the word ego was David Bowie.
The bad side of what we allow to happen with our ego when we allow it to drive the bus.
Right.
Obviously we see it in politics all the time. And so it's not saying it's...
see it in everyday life,
when
sadly.
we need to connect to the power that is us, that's a beautiful part of ego. When we let it take over and we forget to be gracious, that's when we have, I'm just going to say it, Donald Trump. I'm just going to...
And we can get our power from others. My power doesn't come from my ego, I don't feel.
Right.
I feel when I started learning about becoming sovereign, which means cutting cords, and if you've heard about this, cutting cords with people that maybe you have contracts with. So if you've heard people talk about having soul contracts with people, and yes, we're getting into some more woo-woo topics, but we have these, they're connections, they're threads with people. Some are very toxic, and that's where you can get into, energy vampirism and things like this. And once you can kind of sever that, and it's like I say, some of the former friends that moved, away from my life, once I was able to see a lot more and see the positive aspects in us not dancing together anymore. Someone once said, sometimes we dance together, sometimes we dance apart. Some people dance out of your life, and I'm just trying to get to a place where I'm grateful for it and not upset or vindictive because I'm the subject of gossip, because who the hell does she think she is, doing all this woo-woo stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm excavating my authentic self. This is who I am.
And why? And that comes from feeling threatened when people get, and so it's that moment where you say to see them through the eyes of a child and understand, that isn't about me.
Right.
That is about, there's hurt in there. Well, I like to say, I always have to check myself now and then and say, are you coming from a place of lack? Or are you fully showing up? Right. Because you cannot be a good leader. You cannot be a good human, I don't believe, if you're coming from lack. Because if we're coming from a place that's missing, then we're trying to take something from someone else to fill that hole. That's not how it works.
Well, it's fear. It's a fear-based thing where automatically, God, we have to panic. We have to, don't go there.
Yeah. It's what I think greatly that if we can, the easiest way to control people is through fear. Fear is our most base instinct. We have a choice to not go make decisions out of fear.
Right.
We have a choice to go, wait, that is all, in my opinion, always the wrong decision to go with fear. Yeah. Because bad things happen then. Yes. Because all the emotions that are connected to fear, like desperation, and we treat each other so
control,
horribly.
Jealousy.
Exactly.
It's all stems from fear.
And so so I check myself, be like, never make a decision out of insecurity, because insecurity comes from lack, and lack is not healthy.
Right.
So even though we all have our shit, right? I have plenty of luggage and baggage that I bring with me, but it doesn't have to own me.
No.
And more of us need to understand that these things don't. And listen, I study a lot of, like, I've done the 4 agreements and
I
the
keep
Celestine
thinking
prophecy and this idea that no, I can get past the fog of life. 4 Agreements
is a great starting place for anyone who's like, I don't even know. I want to get into spirituality. Where do I start? 4 Agreements.
Right. Yes.
Have that. And study it. Have it by your bed.
Just be open and understand that all metaphysical things, all they're trying to do is offer human beings a way to be more open to each other.
To help give you your tools.
Yeah.
To empower you.
To heal your lack and to make it. And that's why I have to remember every time someone comes at me that this is an argument you're having with yourself and you just happen to bring it to me. I've had to do that with my parents through the years, who would bring the Bible in 50 million times. And I finally said to my mother, I love you, but this conversation I don't need to be in there. Yeah. This is a fight you're having because I'm okay. I've made my peace and my understanding with it, so we don't need to argue. But if you need to, you go do you. But they are understandings every day that agreements with ourselves. We are only limited by what we decide we're limited by. They're agreements to be better, to grow into love. I would much rather spend time in a world where people share love. You know what I mean?
That's Satnam. That's the whole philosophy of the 5D. 5D is community and love and friendship and kindness and forgiveness and grace and very high vibration.
Which is amazing.
And we're anchoring it in. I mean, it is happening and people are awakening on the planet. And whether it is trending or not, I do also feel like it is the direction that our globe is going. Yeah. And it's being activated. And, of course, the dark, scary ick is going to go kicking and screaming. Things may get a little worse before they get better. I mean, we've had some things come to light the last couple of years that people are like, ew, what?
Exactly.
And I have a feeling there's more to come. If we knew all of it all at once, people's heads would spin off their shoulders.
And the other thing is we live in this world where information is instantaneous, and that's whether it's true information or bad information.
Yeah.
But sometimes if we're looking out there and we're like, no, more people need to be, need to wake up. What do? A group out there that needs us to be in control, they try to make the word woke a bad word.
Right, exactly.
They try to make it sound like all of this bad stuff is going on when we don't know what the true balance is.
Yeah.
So don't worry so much on more people. Work on you. Work on being better. Find the people around you that you can have this communion with. What I love about this, doing this show, because listen, one of these days I'm going to convince you that you need your own show.
I would love to. I would love to do that, and I would love for you to help me.
Listen, I've already had conversations with people. You don't even know what's going on behind the scenes.
You got a mic with my name on it?
Yes, because this is stuff we need, and I think people want to talk about.
Absolutely.
And in this show,
They're
this
thirsty
is
for it. They're hungry.
This is the first time we've talked about to this level on the show, and I think that's part of the one note that I was alluding to earlier. It's okay to understand that that you are more than one thing. I'm going to be the funny fat guy. I'm going to be the larger than life. I'm going to be the cheerleader, and I can be this kind of woke if I want to be. I don't believe anymore that spirituality, the term, encompasses what I feel.
Right.
What's your relationship with that word?
Oh, I don't love labels necessarily because I don't want to be pinned down. I mean, I joke sometimes if people ask me like, what is it you believe in?
It's such
to box me in. I'll say, what was my one? I'm a neo-pagan moon goddess.
I love
something. Anyway, it used to sound good. I'd be like, I'm a unicorn. That's why I say, this is my unicorn horn. And children love it when they're like, ooh, that crystal. I'm like, it's my unicorn horn.
Yeah.
I had it removed.
Yeah.
It kept banging into stuff,
Exactly.
But someone else I was going to bring up also that has been a huge part of my, she's been an inspirational part of my journey and helped bring me back to spirituality because I was angry at whatever God was, and for some people they're not even comfortable with that word. I get it. Source maybe is a better word.
Yeah, I do like
Marianne Williamson. I read her first big book, which was A Return to Love, which is based off of the spiritual principles in A Course in Miracles, which she's very well versed in. She's been a minister for years, and she's now running for the office of President of the United States.
I did not know that. Wait, I know the name, so I wonder if that's why.
That's by design that you don't know it, probably because she's not being allowed their, coverage on mass media. Not that you watch mass media. However, if you're following her, she is working tirelessly to subvert the paradigm and bring out, hey, we need to talk about a lot of, can I swear on here? Can we swear on here? We need to talk about a lot of shit.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of shit going down that's not okay. Our children are suffering. Our planet is suffering.
It's why I always encourage everybody who listens to the show to be very involved locally because a lot of people feel powerless because of how the paradigm and everything is going on up here.
Sure.
But we have influence on our community and on the people around us, on who we're electing to city council, on who we're electing to our city mayors. And it may sound like that, and it is political, but at the same time, do you want to have an influence that's a positive one? Yeah. You can have it here because you're right. We're not going to hear about it up here. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because that's just too much. So maybe if we start here, we can trickle up.
People need to get involved. They think that it goes back to feeling powerless. Again, this is how it's done, or it's not, I've had a few friends even say, if we've talked about Marianne, well, there's no way, that would be great, but there's just no way. And it's like taught. That kind of thought process, though. Yeah. It keeps things from changing. People that are listening, people are waking up because they're hearing her and going, yes, I see this. Someone else is Michael Bernard Beckwith. I started really realizing, I think I found him in the 90s. He was in The Secret. He was one of the gentlemen that spoke in The Secret. He had very long dreadlocks at the time. Now he's bald. But he started Agape, a spiritual center based out of Los Angeles, but it's international now. And I watch it every Sunday. They have multiple services on Sunday. It's very, I don't want to say interfaith. They definitely use Christian terminology. However, I'm comfortable with it only because I have my own, like I say, beliefs. And not to say Catholic upbringing had anything to do with that because I renounced a lot of that definitely a few years ago. But he's wonderful. And Marianne's actually going to be on Agape this coming Sunday. And what was funny was the day or two before I was thinking, God, I wish they'd have Marianne on. Yeah. And then there it was at the end of the show. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. So
I love that.
It's so, for me, it helps fill my cup. It's so inspirational. And the thing is, they made it easy for me to not go because I used to attend Unity religiously, pun intended, and served as a prayer chaplain there. And I am ordained. I am a minister, not at Unity, but I've conducted wedding ceremonies, and I've done about 8 weddings actually, which is wonderful. But watching Agape, just for the music alone, but the message is always uplifting. They're very much a spiritual center of work on yourself to help better the world. That it does, putting it into action sort of thing. And Van Morrison is a member of our church. He's part of the choir, Van Morrison.
There you go. I know,
that speaks
the epitome
volumes.
of cool.
Right.
And and so what's fascinating is I do find that I've been not just here, but in Tulsa and everywhere, UU, because it was my first understanding that they allowed us to celebrate different ways of looking at life. It wasn't just Christian. But what they do, and what a lot of these churches do, is they know that pill's going to go down a lot easier if it has the trappings of something we're used to.
Right.
So I told my friends, I don't need it. Those trappings. But I've told my friends, if you want to go to a place and you need it to be more open, but you want it to feel like the church you went to as a kid, go here. It has the same trappings. It's just the message. I'm there because I want to hear these amazing ideas. I'm an ideas person. So and it doesn't have to be UU. There are lots of options, but I think don't limit yourself.
And maybe go check out a few places.
Yeah.
What I loved about Unity when I first started going, Charlotte was very young. I think she was 2. And I remember praying and going, I need a circle of support. Her father was away in New Zealand and then subsequently passed after that. I felt very alone at that time. That was about 18 years ago. And I went, that church, well, it's not, they consider themselves a spiritual center now too, not church. We're trying to get away from that. But I started going there, and it was the people. It was the community. We really put unity and community at Unity. Wow, that sounded like a commercial. It is not, but take it for what it is. Wonderful people up there. And I was part of the choir, and I worked in the books. There were multiple levels of service. And I know UU has that too. I just ran into my cousin, and she and her daughters are attending UU, and it made me so happy. Just that, to me, I'm like, having some kind of faith, whether it's, because I have many atheist friends too, having faith in something, whether it's nature, if nature is where it's at, but to have that so that you have something to believe in, fall back on when times are tough.
Community is, I think, a lot of us who decided to isolate during certain parts of our lives, it's not healthy for us.
No.
So having community of some part, in the queer community, we call them tribes. Find your tribe.
Yes.
I'm very happy to have found the Bear Tribe, because what it is you're there to support each other. And we forget that part because it has come to mean some ugly things. And they don't have to.
No.
They don't have
it
to.
Shouldn't.
No.
It should be a very positive thing.
We're all going through this life trying to figure it out, and I would hope trying to figure it out to where we feel better. Do you notice if we take bitterness on, it just becomes so heavy. Like, to free that. And so my mother would say, pray to Jesus, he'll make it. And listen, Jesus, you're cool. Not my thing. You know what I mean? There's some good ideas over there, and I like it. But stop thinking there's only one answer. There's only one way.
It tends to give your power away when that happens, rather than maybe taking it in and saying, there's many philosophies out there, but one of them is that, Jesus, this man that lived and walked at one time on the earth, that he is an inspiration of someone to follow, who loved without judgment, who loved compassionately.
There's some beautiful lessons. Like, I don't disown Jesus. I think he has some great ideas. I just don't ascribe to making him this thing that these people use to control me. Why? This is a beautiful human who taught so many lovely things. Stop trying to take it. You know what I mean?
And some horrible things have happened.
Horrible
in his name.
Which is why I don't do religion. I'm like, too much damage is done to people in the name of their religion. And that, look at what we're looking at right now. We're looking at the discrimination against gay people that's legalized by the Supreme Court. That shouldn't be it. Or my new thing, I refuse to have the conversation that we can agree to disagree, because that is making me an idea
kind of a cop-out.
and not a human.
Right.
I am a human. You can't agree to disagree. I exist. So that is a thing for nice people to say in hopes to make it okay. It's not fucking okay.
It's the epitome of placation.
Exactly. And I realize some of us have been so indoctrinated into letting that be okay. It's not. It's not. It's why I choose to be loud. It's why I choose to be on stage, because that is no longer acceptable, especially in the world we live in today. We don't get to disagree. If you disagree with me, then I have no relationship with you.
Right.
That I refuse, because I won't accept it. You know what I mean? And so I think there is a way to lovingly accept who you are and not allow bullshit You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can just say it that way.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
I'm like, you do you.
With all
but
due
none of
respect,
us-
I call bullshit.
Yes, exactly. There's so much beauty in this world, but we can allow ourselves to get buried in the ugly. And we don't listen. Everybody's too beautiful for that. And we need to find our way, this hatred that comes out of us. Like, I'm super excited to see what people have to say to me about the show. And I say to you, I forgot where my camera was. I say to you, I love you. And I really hope you find what you need. And going after someone else you're not gonna. So your opinion, got it. I appreciate it. And now we're moving forward. But why we think we are so amazing, talk about ego, that we have the right to destroy you. Why do we
It's
do
not
that?
okay.
Why do we tear down?
I had a discussion with a friend recently who made a statement that was to me not only blatantly false, it was rather unkind. And I said, that's an incredibly narrow-minded viewpoint. And I said it without malice. I wasn't angry. And later I thought, ooh, that was a bit harsh. And then I thought, you know what? What was said was demeaning to the group of people that it was said about. And it was true. There was some truth to what I said. It was like, you got to speak your truth. Another place that I work at, because I do work in the cannabis industry. Is that okay to talk about?
Hallelujah.
Yes, I know. Legalized
Yes.
marijuana, which is helping a lot of people.
A lot.
And I get to work with the public, which is wonderful. I've done retail on and off throughout my entire adult life. And so to have that is wonderful. It's the company that I work for we've been voted the top in Spokane 4 years running. And part of it is a large part of it is because of their culture to treat the employees as well as we treat the customers. And we're a feedback culture. I wish that we fostered more of that, positive and sometimes constructive feedback and make it not personal and say, hey, be able to have those difficult conversations.
This is to make each other better.
Yes.
That's
and
what it
accountability. It's not about making you a bad person, just sharing, hey, can we do this like this? Or when you do this, this is a problem because this, and not make it such a,
we have been
shame and blame, but more sharing and
We've been taught to view a lot of that as shame and blame.
Yep.
And it's this, that what we need to begin to understand is to recognize the nuance and the difference between someone who is there to help and someone who's trying to shame you and blame you.
Right.
Which none of us should,
and
should
people
ever
won't
go there.
necessarily learn through that.
No, exactly. Well, automatically I have my wall up and I'm like, I'm good, bitch. You know what I mean? That's just not. So we like sound bites on this on this show. Well, as we wrap up, I want to say, what would be one piece of advice to keep the beauty and the love growing inside of us?
Follow your joy. If it lights you up, it's a fuck yes. And if it doesn't, no thank you.
We are all looking for a ton of fuck yes. Because we do need it.
Yes.
It's that there was a phrase I heard today about, I'll have to find it, but basically it's understanding the fuck yes energy, that it needs to be that big. And I think that's amazing. I want to say to everybody, it's so funny because today, probably because I knew we were doing the show, I don't know. But, I was doing the Malta thing, and I have on my work, I had made 5 goals that I used to meditate on daily, and I need to get back to. And I realized, so I'm doing a little thing on my TikTok where, because I'm giving myself the year for these things, and I want to talk about it every day.
Awesome.
So if you're used to funny Jonny, I'll still be funny. If you're used to thoughtful Jonny, still gonna be thoughtful. But guess what? I also I live my life out loud, and I'm curious, and I've had wonderful things happen to me in my life. So I'm going to do that daily and just say, hey, this is where I am, including the days where I'm like, I cannot seem to find it.
Right.
And I'm finding it. But it's important to realize life can be good. You don't have to be stuck. And that's what I would like to say to people. Before we go, I do want to say a special thanks to our media partner over at the Left of Straight show, where you can catch some entertaining interviews with host Scott Fullerton. More info on our website. And we are joining forces, everybody. Remember this. We're joining forces for our brand new show with Scott and I together called Bears of a Certain Age. It drops August 3rd. So look out for that. It's going to be fun. I didn't realize till we decided to announce it that there's a lot of bears of a certain age who are like, oh, I want to talk about, because in the queer community, we don't talk about anybody who's older than 32. So, yeah. I mean, once they hit 33, all the jokes about you're as old as Jesus, and then it's over. And then there's nothing left. So we're going to have a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for being so
having
open,
me.
talking to us about all of these things.
Thank you for having me.
More than a pleasure. Everybody, remember, you can catch the QueerCentric every Tuesday at our website, thequeercentric.com. Lots of big things coming our way as well, so keep your eye on those websites. And we have some interns coming in, so Daniel's going to kick some people into shape, and we'll let you meet all of them as well. So until next time, everybody, bye.